Welcome to the 13th episode of the Mayor's Mixtape. I am Haley Sue Robinson, Director of Public Affairs for the City of Pueblo.
City of Pueblo Mayor Heather Graham.
The man behind the mic.
Brian McCain, Chief of Staff.
There we go. You can find this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout. You can also watch it on local channel 17. And we had a lot of downloads last week, so just want to say thank you to all of our listeners, for everybody liking, subscribing, sharing. It's great to see so much support and that so many people are listening. We even had somebody last week, we were at an event, came up and said, hey, I listen to your podcast every week. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Don't forget, if you have questions, you want to suggest a topic, you can email us, mayor@pueblo.us. So with that, we'll get into episode 13. Last night, we did not have a council work session, so we don't have a breakdown of that stuff. But we did get some really exciting news on Friday. Governor Jared Polis, this is something that we talked about all legislative session, House Bill 1147. I know Chief of Staff McCain, our city attorney, our Chief of Police, yourself, you all went.
District Attorney, you
guys all went to Denver and testified against this bill, and Governor Polis vetoed the bill on Friday, which was
a win.
Exciting, maybe surprising for quite a few people. And then you put out a statement on your Facebook yesterday about it, Mayor. So just thought maybe we should talk about that since it took up so much of our time over the last 5 months.
Yeah, it was a big topic. City Council wrote a letter in opposition.
All of City Council, all 7 agreed.
I wrote several letters of opposition, touched base with the governor several times over the last 6 weeks.
You wrote him a letter.
And I texted him and asked him to veto the bill several times. So really talking about public safety and what it would do to our community. And he listened. And so, although I don't always agree with Governor Polis, this is something that we can both agree on when it comes to public safety and the public community on what had to be done.
Right. And I think one thing that was, a big deal also was that it wasn't just Pueblo, but there were municipalities across the Front Range, other home rule authorities that gave evidence of what this would do to our municipal court, what it would do to our communities, the impacts. One thing in particular that the governor talked about in his veto letter was how it would affect domestic violence in Denver. And I know you talked a lot about how it would affect something like illegal dumping here in Pueblo.
Merchant theft.
Yep. And so very unique but very particular cases in other cities across Colorado. So it seems like he actually really listened to the folks that said this is going to really harm us.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we went and testified, there was 60 other people there to testify. So one of the larger testimony sign-up sheets that day.
I feel like the night that you went, you didn't get back to Pueblo till like 10 o'clock at night or something.
And you had district attorneys, city attorneys, council people, business owners, chiefs of police, sheriffs, citizens.
Regular, everyday people.
Showing up to testify against this bill. So it was impactful. The community was impactful, and we're thankful for that.
Great. Okay, so that's a win for us. So now the legislative session is over. I know there's also been talk about a potential special session. Chief of Staff McCain, you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, so as U.S. Congress goes through spending cuts that you're seeing on the news, the Republicans are talking in the administration about cutting certain federal funds that go to states, so they might convene a special session to deal with that once they figure out what the cuts are, and that ties directly into, say, Medicaid and some federal funding that comes down to the states. So we'll probably see that. The other one was an AI bill, and I'm not too familiar with it, but towards the end of the session, they tried to put a delay on it for it to go into effect and move it back a year, and they couldn't get it in. So I think the Attorney General's office and the Governor's office might call for a special session to deal with this AI legislation. I'll find out more about it, but it's just kind of a rumor on that one right now. But for sure, the federal cuts if that goes through.
And then when would the special session be called?
As soon as Congress figures out what they're doing.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's a guess. Nobody really knows when it'll go through, if it'll go through. And from there, they have to convene a special session. And one fear that you can read about online from a lot of the local political types is that they're afraid, well, if they go into special session, they could sneak more bills in or veto bills, but that's not how it works. So when they call a special session, it has to be directly to that legislation. They can't say, hey, we're going to convene and talk about the budget and like, oh, here's another 1147 or here's another bill that does
We don't see something new introduced.
No.
Okay, so it's just what we're dealing with currently and then directly follow up from the spending.
Yeah, they have to specifically say what the special session is for. So with the AI and the funding cuts, they couldn't do a special session for both. They would have to do a separate one for the funding and a separate one for AI. But again, they can't sneak something in with that if it's not related to it. I
mean, that's similar to what we have with City Council. We publish the agenda and ordinances and resolutions. It's not like you can make amendments, but everybody publicly is noticed what we're going to talk about and what will happen. So same thing.
Can't sneak something in, Monday at 5:45 and add something new to it. Same thing.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks for clarifying. Mayor Graham, you also posted yesterday on your Facebook page about sales tax, the update from March. And that the March 2025 numbers are 2.2% over the 2024 numbers. So up $164,301. Is there anything in particular that we can attribute to that? Is there like a trend that we see or maybe a reason?
With such a small number like that, it's probably because of business owed back tax to the city. I don't know that for certain, but because you're not seeing a trend in every line item.
Right, it wasn't across the board at all.
No, it's probably because somebody, like we talked last month, paid their taxes quarterly, and so now we're seeing a reflection. But overall, the sales tax is still down.
It's down 2.7% overall from 2025 to 2024. So that's it's $544,235 that we're down from year to date, March to March. So do you have any particular sense? Is it too early in the year to tell, or is this like a good trend to maybe see where we are?
I think this is your first quarter reporting. I think it's a pretty good trend to see. In this quarter, you're also going to see the reflection of people getting their tax returns back.
Right.
We know that there's a lot of events over the summer, and sometimes you see people spend a lot more money in quarter two and then definitely in quarter four. So I would say quarter one and quarter three are always going to be your slowest sales tax generating times of the year, comparatively speaking to what's going on in the city of Pueblo at that time.
Okay.
So I think the halfway mark will tell us a little bit more about what we can forecast for the remainder of the year. I think interest rates went up yesterday. I think they increased interest rates, so that's not a good sign for our community. We need interest rates to drop and inflation to drop for people to be able to spend more money.
Yeah.
So I think as we see this upward trend now at the federal side, it's going to be hard for the community to bridge that gap when we talk about last year to this year. This year's budget was based off of a flat sales tax. So when you see it down 2.7%, we have to make that up at some point, or you're going to have an unbalanced year end to what was projected. We will have significant savings from the police department and salary savings because we're down so many officers right now. Hopefully that trend changes over the next 2 quarters, but there will be some salary savings in the budget when it comes to that. So that might balance out a little bit.
And that's something that we've seen over the last couple of years with salary savings for the police department. But I mean, that's not necessarily something you can guaranteed count on, or something that you want to count on either.
I mean, we can count on it come the middle of the year, right? Because
Okay.
we know that it takes 48 weeks to be an officer. So
Sure.
right now we can kind of project how much salary savings that we could potentially have. So you think really every officer in the city with French, I averaged out to $100,000. So when you're down 80 cops or 50 cops, $8 million, $5 million, that's kind of
Okay.
what you can intend to roll over into the next year. That's really how the city has been able to balance what they have is the numbers in the police department being so low, and we've rolled over that money every year for the last several years.
Okay.
We've been so understaffed, I think, since 2019. So 2019 was the closest that we were to being fully staffed. I think we had 205
Right.
were
Of our
allocated.
224?
Yep,
Yeah.
231.
Oh, 231.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's the closest we've been. I think right now we're at about 143 officers that are out on the street, and about 17 that are on leave or
Light duty
Light
or
duty.
something like that.
yeah.
Sure.
So down
Okay.
about 50 officers still. So
Okay. And so you said at the halfway mark, as we go into budget season, is really when you can evaluate what potential salary savings we have for the following year to help us with the budget numbers.
yeah, and we're going to
Okay.
start those budget conversations pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
We've asked City Council last year they had asked me to come and present
Right.
prior to the budget to have conversations with some of the larger departments. So PD, Fire, Public Works, Parks Department, those are the four largest monetary departments in the city. And so still waiting to narrow down those dates with City Council on what they want to see. I know we had the work session that was about a month ago.
Yep.
And President Aliff talked about what he wanted to see. You know, Council talked about maybe a 10 to 15% decrease in operating. So I'll be presenting pretty soon on employees and what that would look like if we had to cut part-time employees, how much money it would save, and what services would have to be cut in the community. So we're right around the corner to budget. City's doing its audit right now.
Okay.
So we'll have that report to be giving back to City Council pretty soon when all of that concludes.
So then that gives us a better idea as you go into the budget conversations with each of the directors or each of the departments.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we'll start to see presentations to council.
We'll start to see presentations to council and initiatives moving forward to change the revenue landscape in the community. Because again, we know right now that just last year we were in an $8.6 million deficit.
Right.
So right away you can add 2.7% right on top of that, right? So you're well over $9 million going into 2026's budget. That's without any of the union contracts, extensions passing City Council. We have
Cost of living.
Yep, cost of living. We have 2 of those on final reading on the 24th, and then awaiting one more of the union negotiations. So the forecast does not look good. That's something that they've been made aware of. It's something that we talk about
It's not new.
frequently. It's not new, and so hopefully we can come together and formulate a plan for the next few years.
Yeah. Kind of make some evaluations and some, hopefully have some creative ideas or solutions.
Yeah, these have to be pretty big solutions. Even a few cuts here and a few cuts there are not going to solve
Right.
the budget issue. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it needs an overhaul.
Okay. So we're kind of getting to the really busy time of year.
Yeah.
It's beautiful outside, lots of events happening. So I thought maybe we could share with the listener a few of the things that are upcoming. I know Thursday you have a meeting with the Pueblo Downtown Association. You'll be sharing an update with them, working with the business community. I know that's something that's really important to you. Then we have Food Truck Fridays, which is every Friday at Mineral Palace Park. That's from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. those seem to be just like jam-packed and awesome.
Especially with UC Health being
right there.
Right across the street, all their employees.
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, there's not a lot of restaurants there for them to enjoy. So I think that's kind of just something they've come to depend on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, we have the Paddle the Park event with Pueblo Water. Maybe folks haven't heard about that, but that's with the new water park down below City Park. They'll have a free paddle boat race at 1 p.m. It's free food, and Pueblo Parks and Recreation, the Conservancy District, the Pueblo Water, Greater Pueblo Chamber, Visit Pueblo. Everyone's involved. It feels like just like a big community event. But, last year we were excited about all the construction, and now this year we actually get to enjoy the wave. Yeah. So that'll be really exciting. That's this weekend from 11 to 2. Also this weekend, Parks and Rec opening the rides at City Park.
Yep.
It's also the initial opening of the pools. Mm-hmm. Just City Park, though, because they follow the District 60 calendar. Schedule. And students aren't out of school until June 5th. But Saturday and Sunday, the pool will be open 12 to 2:30, and then again 3 to 5:30. And then they officially open June 6th weekend. So we're excited for that. Bike Month is coming up in June. We have bingo cards here in the mayor's office, also at City Park Admin. And we have prizes. There's a competitive side. There's a family recreation side. I know sometimes you ride your bike. When we had like the big bike race down Union Avenue, you brought your bike out. No?
I walked.
You walked? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So you're not gonna. Okay, so maybe you'll run one of the stations for Bike to Work Day.
Yeah, I could do that.
Hand out breakfast burritos or a coffee or something. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll get you to do that. Okay, cool. And then the other thing that we look forward to every year. This is an initiative that you started when you were in City Council.
Yep.
Team Up to Clean Up. That's happening Saturday, May 31st, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. 2 main locations. CSU Pueblo and the Colorado State Fairgrounds. And then last year we started a third location with RecycleWorks for green waste.
Green waste.
Because the lines were crazy.
Yeah, and lots of people cleaning their yards, and it takes a lot of time to get green waste out of the back of a truck. So
yeah, like branches, leaves, all the stuff that you clean out of your backyard, your garden beds, all that stuff. I think last year you and I were there in May, and we watched a truck for like 40 minutes unload, right? Yeah. And so then worked with Public Works and said, hey, we got to do something different because these lines are too big. And we saw a huge difference in October.
Yeah, it was much quicker to get through.
Those lines were way shorter.
Multiple times. It was a good change.
It was much more successful. So so the 2 locations, CSU Pueblo, Colorado State Fairgrounds, 8 to 3. Bring a truckload. Please don't bring a large, oversized moving truck.
Yeah.
Maybe. And it's for city residents, but it's completely free.
Yeah, and I know that I've seen some questions on who pays for this, right? Mm-hmm. So in previous years, when the city had ARPA funding to be spending, the city used ARPA dollars.
Okay.
This year, we allocated a couple $100,000 for all trash cleanup, removal citywide, so not just for these projects. We've started a capital project account now where we allocate funds for any of our cleanup projects. So whether that be community service and municipal court cleaning, graffiti removal, the Team Up to Clean Up partnership, if they need dumpsters, that those are ARPA employees for that project. And then any other kind of encampment cleanup, alley mattress removal.
Yeah.
So I've been sending people out to clean the alleyways in Bessemer. So anytime you see anybody from the City of Pueblo coming to clean up, that's this year's coming straight out of the general fund. So taxpayer dollars. going to throw away taxpayer waste.
Okay, yeah, because I did see that question that you received on Facebook, and I know it was over 300,000 for
that was for a couple years
for the American Rescue Plan Act. That
So
was
that
for
was
at least
for 3 years.
Okay.
It was
okay.
22, yeah. 22,
20.
23, and 24.
Sure.
Cleanups, 2 cleanups every year, and then also our trash vouchers.
Oh yeah, the large item vouchers that you can buy at Public Works.
That we give out to on the cleanup day.
Oh,
So
sure.
those are all paid.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So that the allocation is from the general fund. There was
for this year.
'Cause
for
we knew that
2025. Yep, because
that money was out.
done. Yep.
Okay. Great. Thanks for answering
Sure.
that question. Okay. I also know that we're looking for volunteers. You and I normally volunteer every year and
Yeah.
either flag people for traffic or help people unload their trucks
cars,
or
yeah.
cars or whatever that looks like. So if you're interested in volunteering,
It's
you
a
can,
good cause.
Yeah. And you can go to the city website. We have a volunteer form at pueblo.us. And there's a little link that says Team Up to Clean Up. And you can pick which site you want to volunteer at. But we've had quite a few people who have volunteered in the past, and they say they have a great time. And I like not seeing couches in my alleyway.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's why I do it.
And you've seen over the years, even like the decrease in
Oh, totally.
since we first started doing that, because people are definitely utilizing
Right.
being able to dump for free.
Yeah, I feel like those first 2 years we just saw
We had to turn people away at the end.
exactly. It was like mass lines and pretty intense, and now people are keeping up with their
Yep. Trash.
trash. Okay, great. Anything else to add for this week, Mayor?
Just wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend and stay safe.
Yeah, everybody stay safe. Absolutely. Okay, well, that's all we have for this week's episode. Don't forget, you can email us, mayor@pueblo.us, for questions, topic suggestions. Find us on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout. Watch us on Channel 17. And we'll see you next week.